A former casino floor manager just revealed something that could change the way you look at slot machines forever. For 15 years, he trained employees in psychological tactics designed to keep you playing longer and betting more. What he's sharing now, the specific tricks used on every single slot machine in every casino, could save you thousands of dollars. Casinos don't want this information public, but according to multiple former employees, these manipulations work whether you're playing penny slots or high-limit machines. And here's something that should concern you. Trick number 6 is actually under investigation in 3 states for being deceptive, but casinos still use it everywhere else. Let me show you exactly what's happening every time you sit down at a slot machine. Trick number 1, the strategic placement algorithm. When you walk into a casino, you probably think the machines are arranged randomly, maybe by theme or denomination. According to a former floor manager named Marcus, that couldn't be further from the truth. Internal training documents reveal that casinos spend tens of thousands of dollars mapping player traffic patterns using heat sensors and surveillance analytics. Here's what they discovered. Players naturally gravitate toward convenient machines near entrances, bathrooms, restaurant exits, and buffet lines. So they program those high-visibility machines with lower return-to-player percentages, typically between 85 and 87%. Meanwhile, identical games tucked away in corners or difficult-to-reach areas are set between 91 and 93%. Yet Marcus stated that during his training, managers explicitly told him never to mention this placement strategy to players. The mathematical difference might not sound dramatic, but former employees documented one specific case that shows how devastating this can be. A player spent 8 hours at a Wheel of Fortune machine positioned right near the main casino entrance. He fed $12,000 into that machine over multiple visits. 3 months later, he discovered an identical Wheel of Fortune game in a back corner near the high-limit room. That machine had noticeably better payouts, and according to internal data, it was programmed with a 4.6% higher RTP. He'd been playing the worst version of his favorite game simply because it was conveniently located. That's not accidental. That's algorithmic manipulation of your natural behavior patterns. But if you think strategic placement is manipulative, wait until you hear about trick number 2, because what casinos do with sound engineering is actually designed to rewire your brain's reward system. Every sound you hear when you play a slot machine has been scientifically engineered to trigger a specific neurological response. Former sound designers who worked for major slot manufacturers revealed something disturbing in internal training documents. They used the exact same audio frequencies found in video game reward systems and social media notification sounds. These frequencies are proven to spike dopamine levels in your brain. But here's the really manipulative part. Winning sounds play at volumes approximately 15 to 20 decibels higher than losing sounds. Most players don't consciously notice this volume difference. But for wins that are actually less than your original bet. You wagered $5, won $3.25, and the machine erupts like you hit a jackpot. One former sound technician named David, who worked for a major manufacturer, confirmed that machines are tested with focus groups wearing heart rate monitors and galvanic skin response sensors. They literally measure which sound combinations create the strongest physiological excitement response. According to David, the winning sound packages that made it into production casinos were the ones that elevated heart rates by at least 12 to 15 beats per minute and triggered measurable adrenaline responses. Yet you're being neurologically conditioned to feel like you're winning even during sessions where you're steadily losing money. It's completely legal psychological manipulation, and former employees confirm that most players have no idea it's happening. And speaking of making you think you're winning when you're not, trick number 3 involves something even more sinister in how the actual reels are programmed. Trick number 3. The near-miss programming. Modern slot machines are specifically programmed to show you almost wins far more frequently than random chance would produce. Internal reports from casino operations describe a woman named Jennifer, who sat at a Lightning Link machine for 6 consecutive hours because she kept almost hitting the jackpot. The top-paying symbols would land directly above or below the pay line spin after spin after spin. She genuinely believed she was getting closer to a major win. Here's the technical reality that former programmers have confirmed. Digital slot machines can manipulate virtual real positions to display jackpot symbols adjacent to the pay line, even when those symbols were never actually in a winning position. According to documentation from former slot technicians, near misses are programmed to appear approximately once every 25 to 30 spins. Actual jackpot triggers on most machines? Once every 4,000 to 8,000 spins, depending on the game's volatility. Your brain processes these near misses as almost winning, and neurological research shows that almost winning is actually more motivating than small actual wins. Former programmers stated explicitly in internal communications that this near-miss frequency is intentional psychological manipulation designed to extend playtime. One programmer's leaked email described near-miss programming as the most effective player retention tool we've ever developed. Jennifer eventually lost $4,800 chasing what her brain interpreted as an imminent jackpot. The cruel mathematical truth is she was never getting closer. Now, you might think near-miss programming is bad, but wait until you hear about trick number 4, because what casinos do with the betting interface itself makes it almost impossible to know how much you're actually wagering. Before I reveal trick number 4, which several former casino managers admitted makes them genuinely uncomfortable, I'd really appreciate if you'd subscribe to this channel. We're exposing information that casinos spend millions trying to keep quiet, and your subscription helps us continue investigating these deceptive practices. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever noticed these psychological tricks being used on you while you were playing? We're about to get into the tactics that former employees say are the most financially dangerous. Trick number 4, the bet manipulation interface. The buttons and displays on modern slot machines are specifically designed to make you bet significantly more than you intend. A former slot attendant named Rebecca revealed that her training included specific scripts for explaining the bet multiplier system to confused players, but only after they'd already lost money and complained. Here's how the deception works. The largest, most prominent button is always max bet. The actual bet amount displays in credits rather than dollar values, making it cognitively difficult to track real money. Default bet levels automatically reset to higher amounts after bonus rounds end. According to internal analysis from multiple casinos, players average 40% higher bets than they initially intended due to interface design alone. Then Rebecca documented one specific case that shows how devastating this confusion becomes. A player sat down thinking she was betting $1.25 per spin. The machine was actually set to $6.25 because she'd accidentally pressed the multiplier button. She lost $400 in approximately 20 minutes. When she finally realized what happened, she was embarrassed and angry, but Rebecca's manager told her to simply apologize and offer a meal voucher. The psychological element here is particularly cruel. Confusion and embarrassment prevent most players from admitting they don't fully understand the bet structure, so they just keep playing. And if you think making you bet more than you want is bad, trick number 5 involves something even worse. Casinos controlling exactly when machines pay out to manipulate your decision-making at the most vulnerable moments. Trick number 5, the payout timing algorithm. Casinos don't just control how much machines pay, they control precisely when those payouts happen, and the timing is specifically designed to keep you in your seat during the exact moments you're most likely to leave. Multiple former slot technicians confirmed something that should fundamentally change how you view these machines. Modern slots are networked to central servers that continuously track your play duration, bet size, win-loss ratio, and even the speed at which you're pressing the spin button. The system is actively monitoring your behavior for signs that you're about to quit. When those indicators appear, decreased bet amounts, longer pauses between spins, looking around the casino floor, the algorithm adjusts. According to internal data from casino management systems, machines are programmed to deliver moderate wins, typically 20 to 40 times your bet amount, after approximately 45 minutes of consistent losses. Former casino operations managers called these retention payouts in internal communications. Here's a documented case that shows exactly how this manipulation works. A player named David had lost $300 over about 50 minutes at a Buffalo Gold machine. He decreased his bet from 250 to 125 per spin, the universal signal that someone's preparing to leave. He slowed his play rate significantly, looking at his watch multiple times. Then suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, he triggered the bonus round and won $220. His brain immediately interpreted this as his luck changing, and as proof that staying longer would lead to recovery. The mathematical reality, according to former technicians who maintained these systems, is that the timing wasn't coincidental. The networked system detected abandonment behavior, and the algorithm increased his probability of triggering a moderate-sized win. David stayed 3 more hours chasing that feeling of a comeback. He left the casino down $800 total. Internal documentation indicates this payout timing algorithm increased average session length by 34% when it was first implemented. These aren't random wins at random times. These are calculated psychological interventions delivered at your most vulnerable decision-making moments. It's essentially intermittent reinforcement, the same operant conditioning technique used in laboratory experiments with rats and pigeons. Former employees stated that when they finally understood how the timing algorithm worked, they felt genuinely disturbed by how effectively it exploited human psychology. But here's where the manipulation becomes truly sinister. Trick number 6 is so controversial that gaming commissions in multiple states are actively investigating it, yet casinos continue using it everywhere because technically it remains legal. What they're doing with losses disguised as wins represents perhaps the most deceptive programming trick ever implemented. Trick number 6. The losses disguised as wins. Modern slot machines celebrate enthusiastically when you win less money than you actually wagered on that spin. Former game designers revealed in leaked development documents that this feature was specifically programmed to confuse players about their net profit and loss. Here's how it works in practice. You bet $2.50 on a spin, the reels land showing a win of $1.25, and the machine erupts with celebration sounds, flashing lights, and congratulatory animations. You just lost $1.25, but your brain registered a win because of the sensory celebration. According to industry insiders, 40 to 60% of all wins on modern multi-line video slots are actually net losses when compared to the bet amount. One former casino manager described watching a woman at a bachelorette party play a dancing drums machine for 2 hours. She kept excitedly telling her friends about all the wins she was hitting. When she finally cashed out, she'd started with $400 and left with $160. She genuinely seemed confused about where her money went because her subjective experience was winning repeatedly. The celebration sounds had completely disconnected her perception from mathematical reality. This practice is currently under investigation by gaming commissions in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, but it remains legal in most jurisdictions because technically the machine does display the actual win amount. It just celebrates losses as if they were wins. One former casino operations director stated that when they analyzed player tracking data, 78% of players demonstrated no accurate awareness of whether they were net positive or negative during their session. The psychological impact is profound. Players leave feeling like they almost broke even, maybe down just a little, when they actually lost hundreds of dollars. Former employees called this the perception gap, and internal research showed it was one of the most effective tools for ensuring players returned for future visits. They left confused rather than defeated, believing their luck was close to turning around. And speaking of deceptive programming designed to distort your perception of reality, the final 2 tricks are the ones that former casino employees stated bothered them most on an ethical level, because they involve manipulation so sophisticated that even people who work in the industry found it disturbing. Trick number 7. The bonus round illusion. Those interactive bonus rounds that make you feel like you're using skill to increase your winnings. Former programmers from multiple major slot manufacturers confirmed something that fundamentally invalidates that entire experience. Your choices don't actually matter. The outcome was determined the instant the bonus triggered, before you picked anything, before any wheel started spinning, before you made any decision whatsoever. When you trigger a bonus round on any modern slot machine, the central server instantly calculates your total win amount using a random number generator. Everything that happens after that moment, The picking games, the wheel spins, the level-up features, all the interactive elements that make you feel engaged, is pure theater. Yet the game is simply revealing a predetermined result in an entertaining way. According to internal documentation for popular games like the Buffalo series, when you're selecting free spin totals and multipliers during the bonus trigger, the server already decided you're getting 8 spins with a 2x multiplier before your finger ever touched the screen. Your picks are staged to reveal that predetermined outcome regardless of what you actually select. Here's the story that really demonstrates how psychologically manipulative this illusion becomes. Internal incident reports detailed a player named Michael, who spent 6 consecutive hours at a Wheel of Fortune machine, specifically because he believed he was developing skill at the wheel bonus. And he genuinely thought the wheel landing position was determined by physical momentum, combined with his timing on the button press. He felt he was getting better at stopping the wheel on higher value prizes. He kept detailed notes about his button press timing, the mathematical reality that former technicians confirmed. Every single outcome was predetermined before the wheel animation even started spinning. Michael's button press, his timing, his perceived skill development, completely irrelevant to the results. Training materials reviewed by former employees actually included explicit instructions that slot attendants should never explain that bonus rounds are predetermined because internal research showed this knowledge reduced player engagement by approximately 40%. Players who believed they had control or skill stayed significantly longer than players who understood the outcomes were already decided. Michael lost $2,800 in that single session, convinced the entire time that he was improving at a skill-based activity. Former casino operations managers estimated that approximately 65% of regular slot players believed their choices during bonus rounds actually influenced the outcomes. The illusion of control is significantly more psychologically addictive than purely random results. Programming specifications leaked from development teams confirmed that bonus round animations are purely cosmetic. The win amount calculation happens in microseconds at the server level before any player interaction occurs. Yet multiple former employees specifically mentioned this as the trick that bothered them most ethically, because players genuinely believed they were developing skills and strategies for something that was entirely predetermined. One former slot technician stated in an exit interview that watching players celebrate their bonus round skills made him feel complicit in a deception that felt closer to fraud than entertainment. But as manipulative as predetermined bonus rounds are, trick number 8 represents something even more concerning about the direction the entire industry is heading. A technological shift that former casino finance directors stated could increase player losses by up to 35% while simultaneously making those losses nearly invisible until it's too late. Trick number 8, the cashless gaming trap. The newest manipulation isn't about how machines pay or sound or display information. It's about eliminating physical money entirely, and according to former casino finance directors, this represents the most dangerous evolution in slot machine psychology in the past 30 years. Internal reports from casino operations strategy meetings revealed a coordinated industry-wide push toward cashless slot systems using digital wallets and smartphone applications. These new systems allow you to load money through an app, link directly to your bank account or credit card, and play without ever touching actual cash or even ticket vouchers. Casinos claim this is about convenience and modernization, but former finance directors confirm the real motivation. Internal pilot program data showed that digital transactions increase player spending by 25 to 35% compared to traditional cash-based gambling. The psychological mechanism is devastatingly simple. Physical cash creates cognitive friction. When you hand over a $100 bill or feed it into a machine, your brain processes a tangible loss. You feel the transaction viscerally. Digital transactions eliminate that psychological friction entirely. The money becomes abstract, just numbers on a screen, and according to behavioral psychology research cited in internal casino documents, abstract losses don't trigger the same emotional warning systems as physical losses. But the manipulation goes far deeper than just the payment method. Documentation from beta testing programs showed that cashless systems track your spending patterns, win-loss ratios, play duration, and betting behavior to enable algorithmic targeting while you're actively playing. When the system detects you're losing consistently and your play rate is decreasing, the behavioral signals that you're preparing to quit, it sends targeted promotional messages directly to your phone. According to reports from pilot programs in Nevada properties, players received push notifications for mystery bonuses and free play credits after an average of 40 minutes of consecutive losses. Internal analysis of these programs showed that cashless-enabled players averaged 47% longer session durations and 32% higher total losses compared to cash players at identical machines. The seamless reload function creates what former employees called the biggest psychological trap. With cash-based play, leaving requires a conscious decision to walk to an ATM, withdraw money, and return to the machine. That physical journey creates natural intervention points where players reconsider their decisions. With cashless systems, you reload your account with a single button press without ever leaving your seat. The most heartbreaking case documented in internal reports involved an elderly woman named Patricia, who participated in a cashless system beta test at a major Las Vegas property. She played a Lightning Link machine for 3 hours using the new digital wallet system. The ease of reloading meant she never left the machine, never physically handled money, never had a moment to reconsider. She reloaded her account 6 separate times. When she finally stopped playing and checked her bank account the next morning, she'd lost $4,200, her entire monthly retirement income. She later told casino staff she had absolutely no idea how much she'd spent during the session because everything felt abstract and disconnected from real money. Multiple former casino employees revealed they witnessed players losing track of spending far more frequently with cashless systems than with any previous payment technology. Industry projections reviewed by former operations managers estimate that within 5 years, 80% of slot machines will operate primarily on cashless systems. Current regulations around cashless gaming provide minimal psychological protections because gaming commissions still focus primarily on mathematical fairness rather than behavioral manipulation. This represents the convergence of every trick we've discussed: the elimination of physical friction, the enabling of algorithmic behavioral targeting, the complete destruction of spending awareness. Former compliance officers stated this technology concerned them more than any other industry development because it removes the last remaining natural barrier between impulse and financial devastation. So let's review what these former casino employees and industry insiders revealed about the manipulations programmed into every modern slot machine. Strategic placement algorithms that put the loosest machines in the hardest-to-reach locations while programming the tightest games in the most convenient spots. Sound engineering is designed to trigger dopamine spikes and celebrate losses as if they were wins. Near-miss programming that shows you jackpot symbols adjacent to pay lines far more frequently than actual random chance would produce. Bet manipulation interfaces that confuse you into wagering multiples of what you intended. Payout timing algorithms that deliver moderate wins at the precise moments when network systems detect you're about to leave. Losses disguised as wins through celebration sounds and animations, even when you're losing money on that specific spin. Bonus round illusions that make you believe your choices matter when outcomes were predetermined before any interaction occurred. And cashless gaming systems that eliminate every natural psychological barrier between impulse and financial devastation. Now you know what casinos train their employees to never discuss with players. These tricks work on every modern slot machine, whether you're playing penny games or betting hundreds per spin. This information comes from documented internal reports, leaked training materials, former employee testimonies, programming specifications, and casino operations analytics. What makes these manipulations especially concerning is how coordinated they are across the entire gambling industry. But former compliance officers confirmed that gaming regulations in most jurisdictions focus almost exclusively on mathematical fairness. Return to player percentages, random number generator certification, payout frequency requirements, but completely ignore psychological manipulation tactics. The legal framework assumes that as long as the math is technically fair, everything else is simply entertainment design and user experience enhancement. Casinos argue these features are no different from what you'd find in video games or mobile apps. But according to the employees who actually implemented these systems, former floor managers who trained staff in these tactics, and programmers who designed the algorithms, the explicit purpose is maximizing time on device and total player loss. Internal analytics reviewed by former operations directors showed that modern machines incorporating all 8 of these psychological tricks generate 40 to 60% more revenue per square foot than older mechanical slots that lacked sophisticated behavioral manipulation capabilities. Multiple former employees stated in exit interviews and confidential surveys that they ultimately left the casino industry specifically because they felt uncomfortable with the ethical implications of these psychological tactics. One former slot operations manager wrote in a resignation letter that became part of internal documentation that he could no longer reconcile his participation in systems designed to exploit cognitive vulnerabilities in people who were often gambling with money they genuinely couldn't afford to lose. Does knowing these 8 tricks mean you can beat the slots? No. The return-to-player percentage is still mathematically programmed against you, regardless of whether you understand the psychological manipulation. But understanding these tactics helps you recognize when your decision-making is being influenced by engineered environmental factors rather than actual probability or rational assessment. You can't unsee these manipulations once you know exactly how they work. A former casino psychologist who consulted on player retention strategies stated in published research that awareness of manipulation techniques reduces their behavioral effectiveness by approximately 30%. Because conscious recognition interrupts automatic psychological responses. But if you found this information valuable and want to understand more about how casinos engineer every element of the gambling environment, subscribe to this channel for continuing investigations into industry practices that operators prefer to remain hidden. Let me know in the comments which of these 8 tricks shocked you most, or whether you've personally experienced these manipulations without realizing what was happening. In the next video, we're revealing the specific slot machines that incorporate all 8 of these psychological tricks simultaneously in their programming and design. You won't believe which popular game that exists in nearly every major casino is the absolute worst offender according to former employees who maintained and monitored these systems.